time to waste. Let's hear about your wins, celebrations, learnings, all of the things you want to share. Let's keep it really tight and laser focused, and we'll hopefully hit lots of people. All right, Michelle, start us out.
Okay, so last week I did a talk on Friday that I told everyone about, that I had the Textful thing, which I used, which was really good. And there was also someone there who is in an MLM, and I was chatting with them after, and I said, can you connect me to who runs your conferences? Because I think this is really applicable information. And she said, actually, I know the CEO. So she connected me, and this morning, so I reached out to her and said, don't forget to connect me, please. And this morning, I got an email from her with the exact name and email of the person who organizes their conference. So that is exciting for that. And I also reached out to people on my list who I have done work with before and said, can I get your advice, insights, and recommendations on other people that you might be able to connect me to? I use David's. I'm trying to fill my speaking calendar for 2020. And two of the people, because they work for the same company, coordinated and sent me a list about 6 or 7 contacts that I can get in touch with within their industry, but also in other industries. So that was pretty fun for me.
Oh, phenomenal, Michelle. This must feel pretty great.
Yeah. You know, sometimes when you talk, you forget how valuable your information is when you haven't done a talk for a while. And then when you see people's reactions, you remember why you're trying so hard to get it out there, because what you have to share really is potentially life-changing for people. So yeah. I'm very excited. And I have another talk tonight, so I'm going to be doing the same thing with the text. So we'll see how that goes.
Congratulations. Oh, thank you so much for sharing, Michelle. And for those of you, please pop it in the chat if you have something you want to share, and we will hopefully hear from at least 5 or 6 people about some wins. It's the beginning of the week. You've had a lot of time since our Thursday call. Let's go on to Amy.
Hello, everyone. I'm eating breakfast still. It's early here for me. Last week I was in Portland. I had 2 days of seminars at a company. And in between that, and I did manage to hire someone, a very smart improviser who's also a writer, to delegate a lot of stuff to and get stuff off my plate. And then also got about 90% of the way through my marketing language bank, and I will have it done and the reasons to hire by the end of the week.
Awesome. Just threw in a little commitment there too, Amy. I love it. I love it. And you've been shifting. So this is a big deal to have all of that done by the end of the week. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. And Stephanie, so that what I talked to you about, I put on the back burner a little, and I went back into the original programs, and moving forward fast on that to keep the revenue flowing.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Amy. All right, John, let's hear from you. Where are you? Oh, there you are.
I'm right here. I've had 2 really great conversations with people who are very well positioned in large corporations, and just shared with them what I'm doing and got their reaction and got some amazing feedback, which is very grounding. I mean, a word or 2 here or there can be make or break in how my message resonates. And it was just really insightful. And then I created my marketing language bank and my 1-pager, and I'm working with Sarah on doing that. And so things are really coming together. They're really converging, and I appreciate it.
Nice. Oh, good. That's really good to hear from you, John. And I know we've talked about this before, but those air conversations, like you said, just a couple of things can really be a game changer for your business. So those conversations, if you have not been doing them, take it from John and do some. It's a big deal. All right, Steve, you have a win to share.
Yeah, it's a blessing and a curse, I guess. So I've been going through all the new modules and I've enjoyed those. Side note, it's been a little technically hard, and I can bring this up offline, just because it used to be much easier to stream them when you have like fitness things going on because that was my main workout thing was listening to David. So it's not as easy now with the new format, but that aside, it's been really good. And I can share that technically on the side. But what's been really interesting is I'm going through all this process, and I am finally getting a lot of great 30-minute meet and greet calls, which are awesome. But the only problem is obviously you can't do those when you're at a client site, so they all kind of just smush into one day. At least for me, because of planes and classrooms and stuff. So like today I have 7, which is great, but it means the day is completely backed up with stuff. So like that's I guess the curse of this. And that of course is not every day, but it's been nice that the days I actually am home in my office, they've been pretty stacked up now with some good leads.
Mm-hmm. Well, congratulations on having 7 today. That's amazing. And you'll not only learn a lot from them, but that's 7 possible leads, down and prospects down the line. So, yeah, I mean, it's part of the game. And then it sounds like maybe your next step might be having someone help you with those if you are going to be, delivering. So
yeah, when cash flow stabilizes, I'll be cool with that. That's always been my issue. I probably could have hired a full-time person about 9 months ago, but because this part of my business hasn't caught fire yet, and I have consistent client stuff, but that ebbs and flows. My 73% of my 2018 client base, sadly, like this one client was 78% last year. Awesome. They did this massive merger, and the cool thing is they doubled the number of North American employees. Yay! But with any merger, they have to let the dust settle from a organizational culture perspective. So like, we're going to hold off on leadership training for now. It's like, oh. So it's just weird timing.
Yeah. Well, so it sounds like you'll have some opening this year or this coming time. So these calls are good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to
go ahead.
Yeah. I just wanted to quickly say for Steve and for everybody, what you just really highlighted is the importance that we're really proactive with our schedule. There's going to be times when we're going to have to adapt, especially when we get on a big project and we're serving our clients or speaking. And having a template and mapping out your big rocks, so to speak. If for those of you who have not seen Stephen Covey do his time management presentation, it's pretty sweet, and you can learn a lot from that for our business. Just really making sure we're carving out our time, our marketing time, our money-making activity time, our client service time, our administrative time, et cetera. And then within that, like, let's say you have money-making activities, you're defining the specific actions you're taking during those blocks of time. So, well done.
Mm-hmm. Also, too, just not to keep on it too long, but just the fact that even when you're busy, you're still looking for clients, because it's not good to start looking for clients when you're not busy, because then you're in trouble, and then that feast or famine that you're talking about. So good job on at least still having that pipeline working even when you've got the gigs booked. So another good lesson. So I want to hear from at least 2 more people about wins, celebrations, learnings, big or small. All right, Gary, you raised your hand. Let's hear from you.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm about halfway through the modules, and we're working on our website right now for the new version of our company. And I'm finding the material particularly valuable in terms of reaffirming things that I believe and helping a lot. So I'm eager to dive into it. I'm trying to get through the training first, but a win we've had just recently is a client who came to our last public course, shared something with me, and she's now reshared it. We're about to introduce our program called Catalytic Coaching out in California to their company. And these guys professionally produced a 4-minute overview video talking about this program that's coming. And they just sent it to me. It's absolutely spectacular. And what they want to know is, you want to use this in general for other clients, because we needed it. And something like this might work for other people. Yeah, I think the answer is a roaring yes. We haven't figured out what that entails or what kind of deal we'll have to make with them to be able to use the material, but it's brilliant. It's done from the customer perspective, and it's just a lovely, professionally produced video.
Fantastic. So it sounds like you're building up your repertoire, your offerings through that. That's awesome. All right, other Gary, let's bring it home.
Oh yeah, well, I was just gonna say thank you to Mark and Eric, Lisa, Casey, Reed, and you, Stephanie, because I had a call with you a couple of days ago, and I'm finding this very, very helpful. Before I was just sort of like swimming around in this ocean by myself, but I've gotten on the phone with a few of you, and I have calls scheduled with a few more. And I don't, it's not Misery Loves Company. It's just Ambition Loves Company, I suppose is a better way to say it. So folks have been very, very helpful and showing me some things that should be apparent, but just weren't apparent to me because I've been so close to things. So I just wanted to thank all of you around here for helping with that. That's been very, very great.
Fantastic. I'm thrilled that you've been really using the group. Honestly, not enough people use the group, frankly. We have such a wealth of knowledge in here, and I'm so glad you've been connecting with people. Okay, well, let's we have some new people on the call today. So first of all, where did Leslie go? Wow, Leslie, welcome to the call. Hopefully you all get to know. Oh, she's down here for me. Leslie, welcome, welcome.
Welcome, Leslie. I like seeing all the hands. It's like fun flapping. There you go, the flappers. See, look at the smile it brought to Leslie's face.
I like nurses.
Perfect. Is anyone else new on the call today? I'm just trying to see. If I missed you, I apologize. Let's move on to the questions.
Okay. On the first one?
Yeah, sure.
So Brad asks, I had an error conversation yesterday. My convo was not with the decision maker, but I identified the next person at the company I would appreciate an introduction to, and he was happy to make it. Just first of all, continuing with the question in just a moment, way to go. Where's Brad? That's awesome. I just don't want to step over that for everybody. Brad identified that the person he was speaking to was not the decision maker, and he took action to request an opportunity to meet that person. So let's just first make note of that. That's awesome. He asked if there was anything he could, way to go, Shanna, doing the clappies. He asked if there was anything he could point this person to regarding information on me, and I explained it is in the works. 1, should I get the introduction and schedule something, even though I don't have something like a website done yet, or wait a couple weeks until I do and then ask for the introduction? Do it now would be the short answer. Typically, just for everybody's edification, generally speaking, that's going to be the answer. You know, I like to say, people have, I mean, look at the name of David's company. What is it? Everybody, Do It Marketing, right? It's all about action. I like to say that an imperfect action today is better than a perfect action tomorrow. So absolutely, Brad. And, you know, see if you can, I don't want to put the extra pressure on yourself, so this isn't even required, but if you could create something, just a one-page document, I'm sure Sarah could help you out with that, just something to give them, but no, don't wait. Is that cool? Any questions on that before we continue?
I pretty much figured that's what you were going to say. I guess I was, and I probably will take your advice to just go ahead and do it. I know for myself, if I'm going to talk to someone, I probably would want to go and like see who this person was, or if they have a website or whatnot. And I'm just wondering if this is the decision maker. I don't know. I'm just wondering if it's going to hurt me if she's like, well, if everything isn't maybe not perfect, but something to establish my credibility that she can look at.
You have a website, don't you?
Yeah, but it's not really reflective of what I do right now.
So what would the alternative be?
The alternative would be to wait until I had at least something to substantiate my credibility, so that it goes, even if we have a great conversation, she's like, oh yeah, let me just do some quick due diligence. Who is this person I'm talking to? She's not going to find anything that
I
reflects
disagree,
our
Brad.
conversation.
I disagree. So certainly, going back to what you said, this decision is up to you, right? You got to do what's best for you. However, I've been to your website. I've watched your speaking videos. It's impressive, and it may not be perfect, but raise your hand, people, if your website is perfect and currently represents perfectly what you're doing and where you're at. Right? I mean, it's just a fact. I've been doing this for 17 years, and nobody's website it's always a work in progress. And if you didn't have one, Brad, or it was a piece of crap, I would tell you, but the risking putting something off and then trying to create something that you may or may not even create between now and then, something else may come up. I wouldn't risk the opportunity to meet this person sooner rather than later. Number two, I was struggling to ask the right and best questions regarding retreats to this person. I tried, but was getting vague answers, likely because my questions were not clear enough. Can you help me clarify the questions I could and should ask for the next time? Could you just share with us, Brad? We might tackle this together, Stephanie and I, what you were asking about retreats and what you were looking for compared to the answers they gave you.
Yeah, well, I was talking with someone who works at Deloitte, and they are so big and they do so many things, including all sorts of retreats, that it was hard for me to know. Like, I asked him, have you ever participated in any of these retreats? And he said, like, he's been there for 20 years. So he said, maybe like, maybe he's done one, but it was several years ago. I was trying to ask him questions of what he knows about the retreats, but he couldn't really give me like clear, good answers.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember what else I was asking him, but I was kind of floundering in my questions.
So was your couple quickie follow-ups, Brad, were you asking about retreats because that's what you've identified you potentially want to do for them? Is that your reason?
Yeah, either do for them or just with them, because they're already doing them.
Did you frame your question? In other words, and this is a good learning for everybody, did you let them know you'd like to ask them a series of questions about retreats and explain to them why you were asking them about the retreats and kind of get their permission to ask the questions?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so that's something to do moving forward. Does everybody get that? So sometimes when you just start kind of like, in this case, perhaps Brad kind of started asking about retreats, it might catch the person off guard. They don't understand why you're asking. So that may lead to a little bit of vagueness. Whereas if you say, hey, I think there might be something like this. I think there might be a great opportunity here for me to help you with some retreats. Do you mind if I ask you 3 or 4 questions about the retreats your company does or does not do in your experience with them? And that kind of just changes the dynamic. They'll often say, yeah, sure, go ahead. And then they're less likely to be vague. And if they are, you can kind of bring them back to the original question. So that would be an area that I would recommend, Brad, that you kind of make that change there. I would imagine it's less about the questions you asked and more about the framing of them. And we can, I'll let Stephanie jump in too. We might suggest some other questions, but I think that's a very important part of it.
Yeah, the thing that's coming to my mind is also possibly the word retreat. maybe now that I'm thinking about it, if maybe there's different versions of what counts as a retreat, like it could be like an offsite or something. Maybe it's not a week-long retreat in Hawaii. Maybe it's a 2-day offsite or something like that. Yeah, Amy's writing all hands offsite. So it's possible that I guarantee he's participated in a lot more like all hands offsite kind of thing. Maybe he's imagining something different when you're talking about retreats. That could be something that you could test out language-wise with some other people.
And I think that would come up in the framing, right? If you use a term in the frame, and they have the opportunity to say, oh, sure, you can ask questions, but what do you mean by retreats? Or then you can begin to identify that. That's good. That's a great point, though. They might just be using different terminology. The other quick thing I'll just add, and this is for Brad and for everybody, I really think it's important to kind of, quote, address the elephant in the room when and if there's an elephant. So if you're in a position where you're asking questions and the person's kind of being elusive or vague, rather than struggling with it, I think it's always best to just address it. So, Mr. Johnson, do you mind if I ask you a question? Yeah, go ahead. You seem a little bit vague about my questions. Am I sensing some hesitation? Maybe you don't feel comfortable answering these, or am I misreading you? That just changes the dynamic and allows that person to open up and be more authentic, and for you to get kind of the real answer of what's going on. Any follow-up questions, Brad, before we move on?
No, I think, well, maybe one. I think that's helpful. And I like the idea of framing. I like the idea of then asking questions like what kind, what's your experience? And then I thought of just following up with like, okay, so what's working well? What isn't working so well? And then my last question that I was going to ask was, so if I am talking to more of the decision maker, at some point, I don't know, you've got to ask for the sale, right? Or ask for the opportunity. So, you know, say we're in this good conversation and I'm learning what is working, what isn't working. And I assume the next question is, here's how I think I might be able to help, and then
Perfect.
Kind of carry through the conversation.
Perfect. Yeah. So just backing up a little bit, Brad, that was a great question. Like, what's working? What isn't working? And then it's important to go deeper and start to see if they can calculate a return or a pain on the things that are working, or better yet, not working. So let's say they said, yeah, you know, we do these retreats. They're okay, but I'm not sure they're very valuable. And then it's the follow-up questions that are key. Can you say more about that? What do you mean by you're not sure they're valuable? Or whatever it is they said, you repeat it. Could you say more about that? Okay, well, I don't know, like we bring these people in, they take a day off from, quote, their regular jobs, and we really want to make sure that the time they're spending, we get a return from that. Well, what would that look like? How much, when you take these people away for a retreat and they're coming back with either benefits of that retreat or not, is there a measurable that you might be looking for? These are the questions that get them identifying with value. And then you're exactly right. So once you've dug there, and or you've gotten the information you need, and or you're up against the clock, you might say, might we transition, and may I share with you how I might be able to help you in these areas that you've identified as issues? That's a perfect transition question.
Okay.
And then during that time, you're taking notes. This is, by the way, how to handle a sales conversation too, just a consultation. And then you begin to repeat back what they shared and how your solution solves those problems.
Yeah, I think it's module 7 that's about sales. So there's lots of good tips in there. But just to be clear, if you've set up the conversation though as an AIR conversation where you're asking for their advice, you don't want to like bait and switch them into a sale in the same conversation. That's when like the follow-up is really important, and over time, and then you can book a separate conversation for the like quote sales part. But yeah, don't don't trick them into having a sales conversation when you
Very
really just ask them for advice.
important. Yep. Depends on how you set up the call, right?
Mm-hmm. Amy's been adding some really great stuff in the chat, Brad. So have a look at that. And
Okay.
also, yeah, maybe you guys can connect offline or in
Okay.
the Facebook group.
Thanks.
Okay, let's go on to Gary McKechnie's question. I love this question, Gary. This is going to be good. What if in the interview with a prospect, you uncover their wants and needs and challenges and problems, but you find you can't help them? Do you try and modify how you describe your presentation so it fits and you can get the booking, or do you let it go and suggest someone else? All right, Gary. So I'm going to ask you your own question. What do you think you should do in this situation?
I feel very strongly both ways.
Hmm.
No, I don't know. I don't know what I would do. It's like if I saw a couple of things I could latch onto, I might try to do that. But then I would have to, and I've had to do this in the past, I've had to redo like a presentation to fit what the person wants, as opposed to just letting it go. And keep in mind, this is not an expensive booking. These are like the $200, $300 bookings. And so I just don't know, because I'm not there yet where I'm doing this. I'm just like looking ahead, because I went through that module where it's like, what problems are you solving? What value can you bring? And I guess it's not a one size fits all, because I don't understand yet the arena that I'm going into. So I'm not sure if it is one size fits all, or you can modify things slightly, or if there's a point where you just say, hey, I wish I could help. I can't help. Somebody else might be able to.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay. So there's a black and white and there's a gray here, right? If
yeah.
you can't help them, then we don't sell them then we don't sell to them.
Even if you want the money?
Well, I mean, I would say if you actually can't help them and you go up and you're like, oh, they're going to buy a presentation on sales, but I'm going to tell them about George Washington, maybe don't do that. You'll ruin your reputation.
Okay.
But if you can help them, then you can sell it. But what I'm hearing is this gray area of like, you kind of have some predetermined ideas of how you could help them.
Right.
They maybe have a different idea of how they'd like your help. And then you can maybe co-create something together.
I see.
With the caveat of, we do want you in a lane. Like, we want you to become known for something. We don't want you to build something completely from scratch that you're like, I guess I could do this, but it's going to be a ton of work. And and we'll get to the $200 in a second. But So yeah, you've got to be close. Like, if it's close to what you're talking about, and you're like, okay, that's something I would love to help them with. I could really sink my teeth into that. They're
Right.
paying me enough to make it a win-win. And it's not like so far off in left field that you're all of a sudden going to start getting tons of referrals for something that you don't want to be doing. I mean, you hear David talking about this all the time, where he was a jack of all trades kind of speaker, and it was a mess, right? You don't want to be a jack of all trades kind of speaker. But if you have, 2 or 3 kind of signature talks, 2 or 3 things you're known for, and you have to tweak one, we definitely say that it's fine to customize your talks. You don't want to be redoing every single slide and every single presentation for $200.
Right. Okay.
Does that begin to answer your question? There's a couple other.
Yeah, it helps clarify things quite a bit, as a matter of fact.
Okay. And then the $200, I mean, we're definitely going to work on your pricing. And that's something we can talk about one-on-one.
That was a long time ago. That was like a week ago.
Oh, did you say that was like a week ago?
No, I'm kidding.
Oh. Well, so let's definitely talk about your pricing, but the pricing always comes down to the transformation and the value and the outcome. So, provided you're giving them really great value, you can charge substantially more than that.
So,
oh,
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Did I answer all the pieces to that question?
As far as I'm concerned.
Okay. Any follow-up questions?
No, that was me.
Good. Okay. I'm so glad. I know we get this question actually a reasonable amount. So don't sell them if you can't help them. This is a really interesting thing when we talk about referrals. If you can refer them to someone who can help them, you kind of get credit for that if it goes well. So it's a great business strategy to be someone who can say, no, actually that's not my area, but I know someone else who is, and you've got tons of people in this group who you could refer to. And then you kind of like, they hold you in high regard for giving them someone awesome. Okay. So keep that in mind too. It's a really great bet to say no when it's not a good fit. And sometimes when you say no, when it's not a good fit, they'll say, oh, but we really like you. So we'll want you for the thing that you are great at. So sometimes you get the business anyways, even when you say no.
Perfect. Thank you.
My pleasure.
I'm gonna just point out, I'm gonna compliment Gary Markle. Gary, if you're not already a coach, you will make a great one by the question you posted in the chat. $200 and I know you addressed this already, Stephanie, but just to shine the light on Gary, what a great coaching question. $200 for a customized speaking engagement? ? How does that fit into your business model? Like, such a great, powerful question that gets you. I know it already worked with Gary, so way to go. The next question is from John, and this will be a quickie. John, just FYI, it's going to be a quickie.
Okay.
Where'd it go? John, I'm not clear if the best way to move forward is to build a speaking platform or to complete my online course. Want to focus on one and do it well, rather than split focus. I'm clear they are both significant endeavors and require focus. Thank you. So first of all, is this a course on building a speaking platform or an online program platform?
It's a course on building a speaking platform, so that's going to be your answer.
Right, exactly. So our advice would be to build your speaking platform first. And the reason is because, and this is a beautiful thing for you, John, and for everybody to really get, speaking solves everything in growing your business. It is not only a way to generate income, i.e. getting a fee for your talk, but it is the greatest marketing strategy on the planet. It is simply the best. And so you start with your speaking platform, and one of the things you could be selling at all your speaking gigs, in addition to other marketing avenues, would be to sell your online program. Simple as that.
Right.
And you look hesitant.
It answered my question. Speaking is key, and I totally get that. But I need to have both. It's not, and so I'm seeing it in this very dualistic way. And so it's really not an either or question. I mean, I need to figure out a way.
No, of course not. It's not an either or question. It's focus on your speaking platform first. And when you build that up, add your online course. It's not either or, it's both. You just can't do both effectively at the same time.
Right. So your answer then is get the platform built, do it, get that done, and then do the online course.
Absolutely, unequivocally, without a shadow of a doubt, absolutely, yes.
Wait, I need a little clarity there, Michael. You weren't clear. Sorry.
So this comes up a lot, John. You're not the only person. Virtually 50% of all of your faces in there have asked me a similar question in one-on-one, or they've said, but yeah, I'm working on my speaking, but I'm also writing this book. I'm working on my speaking, but I'm also creating this course. And what I say to them is, well, you bought into this course, let's dive into the course. But what actually happens is 99% of the time, it's like that fear or that procrastination or those gremlins are coming up, and you're just like, maybe this isn't enough. Maybe I need to be working on something else. It's like, it's distracting you from doing the work at hand. The work at hand is so powerful, but it's confronting. We're asking you to talk to people you've never talked to before, to do things you've never done before, and it's confronting. And so all of these other projects that seem really, really important start to creep in, and they are really important, but they're not really important right now because what you invested in is this course and our knowledge here. So
Well
that's
said.
not just for you, John, that's for everyone. And so always just when you start finding yourself doing something else, like really look at, is this really just procrastination?
Yeah.
It's really,
What are you
yeah.
afraid of? It's like a good hard question to ask yourself. Now, again, John, like Stephanie said, it's not just John, but we could throw it back on you. Like, and it's a bit of a rhetorical question for now, but work with Stephanie on this is kind of why are you asking the question to begin with? Like, what is holding you back from just going gangbusters and killing it on the speaking platform? Because everything else will follow.
Oh, Michael, I can answer that real quick. I'm looking at other shiny objects. And
Yep.
so, so I want to be distracted from the now and
Yep.
the work that I'm doing. And I want to go, oh, there's a shiny object over there.
Good for you for admitting it. Dig deep and find out why you're doing that and stop it. I mean, and I know I'm being blunt and it's easier said than done, quote unquote. And that's your inner work. That's where you got to go to work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, perfectionism, shiny object syndrome, all of those things like start to creep up in this process. Being an entrepreneur is not straightforward. Oh my God, is it not straightforward? How many demons have you confronted, Michael? Oh God, I can't even count them. See them all back here?
Confronting them in this very moment, for crying out loud.
No kidding, exactly. Like, oh my gosh, I'm about to answer Martha's question, but am I going to do it right? I don't know. Am I going to give her everything she possibly needs? And am I going to do it the way Michael would do it or the way David would do it? And yeah, so demons.
Yep.
But Martha, I'm going to answer your question to the best of my ability right now in this moment.
Boom.
Yeah, which is, and if it was easy for me to show up in a freaking costume for you guys last week, by the way, I was super nervous about that, but anyways, okay. How can I use the golden triangle in my meeting with this company you have a meeting with on November 20th? I already submitted a proposal prior to joining this program at too low a price point. All right, two pieces there. But Martha, tell me what about the golden triangle interests you here? Why is this coming up?
Well, I don't even really, since I just joined officially, like now, I don't even know what it is, but I know that there's this 3 tiers of proposals or packaging that you want to focus on before you go in. And I submitted this proposal to Liberty Mutual. They contacted me to help their Women in Tech group. And they're interested in finding their voices because I'm a voice coach. So I had sent them off this proposal that I had put together and that I have already out there. That's a $2,500 proposal for an entire day of coaching. It's a morning of classes. It's one-on-ones in the afternoon with the participants. And then I threw in my online course just as a value add. And then now I'm realizing, oh my God, that is so underpriced for what I'm offering. And yet the proposal's already out there, it's been sent. So I'm going to have to back in. I'm assuming I'm going to have to do some jiggering here before I have these meetings.
Yeah, so I mean, lesson learned that now you will never send another proposal until you've already had a conversation with them. There should be nothing in the proposal that you haven't already talked to them about. So the proposal is never a surprise, including the price, what's included, all of that. So, so you're going to have from now on conversation first, then submit a proposal. And there's all sorts of language in the course about how to do that. When they're like, oh, just tell me your price. And so there's some language in the course about how to do that. Well, I need to know what you need first, and then I'll send you a price, that kind of thing. So for moving forward, lesson learned on that one. It sounds like your proposal is kind of the second and third tier of the golden triangle. So the golden triangle, for those of you, show of hands, how many people know what the golden triangle is? Okay, so not many people. Okay, I can't remember where in the course David talks about it. I don't remember if it's beginning or the end or middle. I don't remember exactly, but basically it's 3 things. So you've got speaking, so your keynote, your presentation, then you've got training, and then you've got consulting. And those are kind of the 3 kind of main categories of things. Obviously, there's other things you can offer them, online courses, etc. But the golden triangle is kind of how the problem gets solved. So to learn about the problem, you've got your talk, right? It's kind of the surface level. Okay, so I could bring some awareness to the problem by doing a talk for your group. I could dive deeper with them by doing training, and I can really, truly, deeply solve the problem by doing consulting. So it's more about the depth that you go into the content with them. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And so, if I go in and meet with Liberty Mutual, this Women in Tech group, I'm going to want to find out it's not an air conversation, right? It's a, what is it? What do you guys call that?
Yeah. So your conversation's probably going to go along the lines of, hey, I know I sent you a proposal, but that was very without me really understanding what it is you need. So let's step back from that. Let's dive into, what you're struggling with, what your problem is you're trying to solve. And then I can give you a more up-to-date, a more accurate proposal based on our conversation today. It sounds like that's going to be kind of how you back into it. Now, if all of a sudden you're going to charge them like $20,000 for the exact same thing, yeah, they might not like that, but that's going to have to be your decision on what it really will cost to do what it is they're asking. You said it's local, right?
Yes, they have 2 local campuses, but then they're also international. So it's a great company to get in with.
And so you want to be careful that your first proposal isn't super low and they're like, yeah, we want you to do this in all 50 states or whatever. And you're like, uh-oh. So you do have to kind of remedy this now. What I think you might have been asking is less about the golden triangle and more about, in the course, David talks about the offering sizes. So like small, medium, large, super size.
Yes.
That's in packaging. Let me see. I think it might be in messaging module 2. I think it might be in module 2.
Right.
So you can see a little bit more in detail what he's talking about there. So I would definitely review that before you go in to talk to them.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, a whole bunch of stuff's happening in the chat. So if I miss something, I apologize. I don't know, but that closes up your question, Martha. You good there? Super.
Awesome.
Okay, Michael, I'm not sure what we're up to.
I can hit. Next is Julia. So I'll handle Julia's question and then you can check out the chat. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Make sure so Julia, we're gonna hit your question with a little fun, I think. Not I think. I know we're gonna get people included. So I'm trying to start an email list from an opt-in tab on my website. Is it correct that opt-ins is the only legal kind? And then we'll address the second part in a moment, which is, are there any other ways to get emails? So I'm going to need some help either from Stephanie and or the group with what you mean by legal. I'm not an expert on that. What I'm going to help with better is how to build your email list. But go ahead, Stephanie, do you know of any? Can we discuss the legality of opting for email?
Well, what you can't do is just add people to your email list. Where you are, there you are, Julia. Okay, you can't just add people to your email list. The sort of kind of exception is a business to business relationship where you can sort of approach them. You cannot do that for individuals. You can't just go up to someone and be like, hey, I want to teach you how to lose weight. Here you go. Yeah, you can't do that. There's a gray area on approaching businesses, to my understanding. I am Canadian, you are American. We have anti-spam laws. There's international laws. There's all sorts of things. The safest thing to do is to have people opt in themselves, because your email provider is going to track where they opted in. There's always a little terms and conditions, disclaimer. I am not an expert either. This is just the general understanding of it.
Yeah.
So you
People need
do,
to opt in.
opt
Yes.
in, and they always have to have the ability to opt out as well. I 100% of the time, if someone sends me an email without an opt-in, I report them to spam because they have to have an opt-out. There has to be an unsubscribe, which if you're managing it through an email CRM, that it'll be fine. It's always included.
So I got this, I just was asking because on that Intel engine that was on the Facebook page, at the very bottom they said that, and I know how much I hate getting emails if I haven't opted in. On the other hand, I've got an opportunity to get an email list from a couple of conferences where they list, people and their emails. And it's about, I think it's about 400 names. What do I do with that?
What you want to do, this is where I was going to go, and then we'll open it up for other people's list building just quickly. But the general answer is you want to give them value and get them to opt in to your list, right? And so if you were to just say in this particular example, if you spoke at a conference and one of the benefits of being a speaker at the conference is they give you the emails of 400 attendees, then I would email them with a gift that something like maybe it's as simple as, after my talk, I'm going to be, depending on this, if this is before or after, you might do a telepresentation on Zoom or on the phone with a little bit deeper dive on that which you spoke about in the conference. And the way for people to come to that is to register, and now you have their email on your list. So that's just one simple way to do it. Does that make sense?
So it is okay if I use that 400 email list, if I send out like just something that you would recommend, just send it out to all 400 people, thank you for attending and blah, blah, blah. And then just giving a little freebie, a little gift, like you said, and hope that they'll go to my website and opt in.
So I'm going to give two parts to that answer. That's what I would do.
Okay.
Somebody might need to help us out if it's like, I don't know what you mean by, is it okay? Like I was a risk taker when I built my business. So the way I would do it is I would give them an offer they can't refuse. Just give them a great value. You don't try to sell them anything. Give them a gift, and then go from there. That's how I would do it. Does anybody have any bad experiences or what? Yeah, Shanna.
Yeah, Shanna. Mm-hmm.
So there's a difference between emailing people that you've been told you have a right to email from a conference. If you email them just from your regular work email and do it once, again, like you said, provide something of value, provide an article you've written. It can be anything, but what you want it to be is something that entices them to want more. So you can offer to have them sign up to your email list in that email. Those people that go to the email list and sign up have given you permission to continue to send email to them. The difference, there's two things. So you have your automatic marketing emails that go out through your email provider. That's marketing and advertising. You have to have people's permission to do that. You don't have to have permission to reach out to somebody whose email address has been given to you or you found on the internet or whatever and say, hey, this is who I am, this is what I do. If you're interested, let me know. So there's a difference there. They'll tell you, no, I'm not interested or whatever, and I wouldn't hammer them from your regular email account. But like he said, email them initially, offer them something that they want more of, and give them the opportunity and the link to sign up for your email marketing list.
Perfect.
Yeah, and there is a difference between business to business, which is what we're doing. So as long as you're emailing another business, then it's, again, like Shanna's saying, it's okay to reach out to them and make offers. Michelle, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I was just going to, that's what Shanna said is exactly what I was going to say, in the sense that you don't want to continue to spam that original 400 person email list. If only 200 sign up to like opt into that offer that you're giving them, then you kind of, take the other 200 off your list and don't continue. So
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yep. Reaching out once with a gift or an offer is one thing. Putting them on your list without their permission and continuing to email them is something else completely entirely.
Yeah, and
the thing, I'm sorry, real quick, the thing I just wanted to capture, well, go ahead, Michelle, finish that thought.
I was just going to say that I even have done it where I emailed that list just twice, where it's in case you didn't see my first offer from being at the conference. I just wanted to give it to you again. If you don't opt in now, don't worry, you won't hear from me via email again, just in case. And then I let it go after that, because sometimes it gets lost, but that isn't considered spamming. I've never had anybody report me on doing it that way.
I agree with that. That's what we typically do, is the initial outreach and the, hey, just in case you didn't see it, and don't worry, I won't bother you again if you're not interested.
Yeah.
Leslie, did you have something? There was a hand raised, yeah? You're just on mute in the bottom left corner.
I was going to ask, what is the time frame on that? Like they were just talking about the emails. So if you send the first one asking
immediately.
Yeah,
so go home from the conference the next day, send it out while you're fresh on their mind.
What about the second one? And then when you take them off?
I personally usually wait about 3 days, give them a little bit of time to respond and soak it in. You could do a week, but then you take the risk of them continuing to move on to other things in business and they forget.
Okay.
So I would do the first email as immediate as you can, and then the third email or the second email on the third day. Now that's what we've done in our business.
Okay, thank you.
How many of you, every time you speak to a live audience, offer people to join your list and give them a great reason to join it? Okay, so for those of you that did not raise, I see a couple people saying sometimes, some people not raising their hand. You're leaving money on the table by not doing that. I've tracked this for years. 72% of your audience on average will sign up for your newsletter. I'm using the term newsletter loosely. Whatever your keep in touch strategy is, just because you ask them to and give the offer. So over the years, you could have thousands of people on your newsletter list just from your speaking engagements.
Fantastic. These were such good questions, guys. Just a reminder for the people who didn't ask questions today, you can submit questions at spfquestion.com. That's always in the pinned Facebook post. So make sure you're watching for that and submitting questions. You can book one-on-one calls with me, but also you see how wonderful asking the group can really be. There's a lot of great minds in here. So let's wrap up today by just going around, and I'd love to hear from you guys what you found valuable today. What are you hearing? What are you taking away from this? What are your ahas? I want to hear from a couple of people and just solidify this learning, solidify what you're taking away from today. Who wants to go first? Yes, Michelle, thank you.
All right. I just wanted to add a little bit to John's question about the course. What I've done in the past, I don't know if it's the best strategy, but when I'm talking to people and they say, oh, well, what do you have next? I have some titles in mind, even if I don't have the course built yet. And I just say, oh, this is what I have to offer. This is the general gist of it. And they say, oh, yeah, I love that. And then when is it starting? And then I say, oh, well, enrollment starts a week from now or 2 weeks from now. And that gives me time to build the course, but I'm not doing the work of building something before it's actually sold. And it works well. So, it's not that you have to have every single piece built. You just have to know what the next piece would be if you have the opportunity to get to that. And then you can build it by just building in your own buffer. So I don't know if that helps, but it's
yeah.
Strategy.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah,
Casey.
Looks like John left us. He's so busy working on his online course.
All right, Casey, let's go to you next. What are you finding valuable?
I keep hearing a trend about getting rid of perfectionism. In other words, building the plane as you fly it. Michelle, what you just said was a really great example of that. Amy had a few earlier. It's just being willing to get our hands dirty, even though we don't know where it's going to end up. So it's like, okay, I've got a title and I've got some learning objectives. If you want that, then I'm going to go home and build it out, rather than the way I do. It's like I got to have the whole thing built and know what it's going to be. And the risk of that is they may not want to buy it.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
I've always done that in coaching. I'll say, like, working with people one-on-one. Oh yeah, I've got a worksheet for that. Let me send it to you after this call. You go build the worksheet and send it out, because you're going to use that again and again for other people. But it's so cool to have it in real time. Oh, you're at a conference and someone says, oh, that's really interesting. You say, I wrote a blog post about that. Let me send it to you. What's your email address? Go home, you write the blog post. Oh, I got a video about that. Go home, make the video. As opposed to all these things that we think people want in our heads. You're going to get asked the same thing over and over again, not the thing you think you're going to be asked, just the thing that actually gets asked. That's why we do air conversations and hear from real life people what they actually want.
Well said.
All right. Rant over. Thank you, Casey, for bringing that up. Who is next? Let's hear from two more people, what you've been finding valuable today. And you're really going to crush my ego if no one says anything. Yeah, Martha?
So this is sort of in keeping with what we've been talking about, but, I love the do it now, and imperfect action is okay. Because I think we can get caught, I know I can get caught in that cycle of, well, my website's really good, but it's not really as good as I want it to be for this new niche. And then I have all these people reaching out to me, well, I can't really figure that all out yet because I don't have my stuff all in a row. Instead of just saying, go meet with the people, you'll figure it out. I love that.
And I'm going to real quick say I would imagine, I know I'm good at that. Stephanie's good at that, but the master is David. You are in his course for a reason. He is ridiculously awesome at action. Yeah. If you guys knew the stuff he didn't have figured out before he actually did it, you'd be blown away. And look at what he's created. So model that.
Yeah.
The closer you can get to that, you'll be better off. Way to go, Martha.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks.
Perfect. We'll do Mark and then Leslie, and then we will wrap it up for today.
Okay, this isn't really so much what I learned today, but I got this in an email and I just have to share it with everybody. I hope is my email showing up on the screen there?
Nope.
You not see it?
Nope.
All right, come on. Here we go. This is from Speaker Match. Is it there now?
Yeah.
Look at this fee note. We are willing to go up to $10,000, but don't want to exclude anyone on the lower end who might be a good fit. Anybody who applies for this gig at less than $10,000 is crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not tracking with what your question is. Sorry, Mark.
We're willing to go up to 10,000, but we don't want to exclude anybody on the lower end. Why would you apply on the lower end for this if they're willing to go up to 10,000?
Oh, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, I see. Awesome.
It a lot of sense.
They didn't take the scores.
Hello?
Something really, really loud happening.
That was my son.
Oh, okay.
He just walked in the door.
Well, Leslie, let's bring it home today. Let's wrap. What would you like to share?
I think it was all really valuable. I'm just starting with the business aspect part of it. So, and to take action, I agree. I mean, I took action like crazy. I don't know if I'd recommend that if your message isn't super clear, but because that's what kind of stopped me on and where I do have an issue, not an issue, but when you're developing a course, I think I tend to think people know more than they know. So I think it has to be much bigger than it actually has to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not sure how to fix that. Like, yeah, I'm thinking people know, like sometimes I'll say something and they're like, oh, wow. I'm like, you don't know that? That's common sense. So not assuming people know more than they know about basic life skills and life stuff. That's all.
Yeah, and you're going to find that the AIR conversation is so valuable for that, because you're going to find out exactly where people are at. Then you can build, and you offer accordingly. This is exactly what we were saying before, like not what you think they want, it's what they actually want on the ground floor. So it's good to be aware of that stuff, Leslie, for sure, so that going in, you know, they kind of say like, oh, talk at an 8th grade level, that sort of thing. And that's not what you're going to do when you're approaching a room full of people, but just always remembering you are coming to them as the expert, not the other way around. We can feel really self-conscious sometimes, like, oh my God, this is a room full of really smart people. I would be, if I thought that, I would be screwed on these calls, you guys. You are such a room full of such smart people, but you're coming to us because we have this knowledge, we have this area of expertise. So it's right back at you, Leslie. So I'm so glad you brought that up. Okay, so we're gonna wrap up for today, guys. On Thursday's call, we have the breakout room with Sarah, the copywriter. So please make sure you're submitting your questions ahead of time for Sarah. Let Morgan know if you want to join her breakout room. There's a Facebook post about it, so go in Facebook, check it out, and see all the instructions there. And also on Thursday, we are going to be asking you about your money-making activities. So I want you to come to that call knowing what your money-making activities are, what actions you're going to take, because we are going to ask you, so be prepared for that. Any parting thoughts, Michael, before we go?
No, great call, everybody. Great energy. Thank you.
Have a fantastic day. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.